Hey, Granny Gear here from 29inches.com. We're going to talk here to one of the main men that's been behind the Anthem 29er, Anthem X 29er from Giant. Much anticipated bike, bringing the Maestro platform and a racy feeling to the 29er world. So I'm going to talk to Andrew for a second here. Basically, my impressions of this bike were it is one of the snappiest handling and snappiest pedaling feeling short link bikes that I think I've thrown a leg over, and that really impressed me. I really did like this bike for the 45 minutes I rode here bootleg. I want to talk to Andrew here, give him the camera for a minute. We're going to say what's up with this thing. Why was I so impressed? Why did it feel better than most of the other bikes I've ridden in along this vein? All right, we're going to talk to him and let him see what he says.
Great. Michael, hi, Andrew here from Giant Bicycles, and we're here taking a look at the 2011 Anthem X 29er platform. Now, it sounds like you had a pretty good ride out there on the trail, about 45-minute ride here in Bootleg Canyon. You mentioned that the bike felt very snappy, very crisp. That was one of our goals with this particular bike. As you know, it's a 4-inch travel bike, which is a cross-country racing or kind of epic trail riding bicycle. One of the things we didn't want to compromise with this bike was handling, and one of the things we did is work with our race team, including Adam Craig and Carl Decker, to help provide the type of racing feedback that we wanted to integrate into the kind of pedigree of this bike. So you mentioned snappy and quick handling. One of the things we wanted to make sure was as tight a wheelbase as possible. Some of the other products you may have ridden tend to have a longer wheelbase, or a wheelbase that tends to elongate the bike, creating sometimes a sluggish feeling bicycle. We wanted to make sure that the wheelbase on this bike was as tight as possible without foregoing rear wheel clearance. As you can see on the bike down below, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of rear tire clearance. We actually state that there's up to 2.3 size tire that you can safely put on this bike. But again, keeping that wheelbase, keeping that rear wheel specifically tucked underneath the rider helps give that bike that snappy, quick kind of feel that you were talking about. One other thing that I think you probably felt while out on the trail was our oversized head tube, which we call Overdrive. Overdrive isn't just some sort of a marketing gimmick, and while we're one of the first ones to do it out here on the market, you've noticed many of our competitors have done it as well. It's inch and an eighth upper cup and 1.5 inch lower cup. And like I said, that's really not a lot of marketing baloney. It's the real deal. What it does is it allows us to really build that huge front end, which allows us to anchor a very large down tube from the front end to the bottom bracket of the bike, giving it a very stiff front triangle, which is exactly what you want when you're riding these really technical trails. Gives it that really stiff feel that it sounds like you felt when you were test riding this bike.
It does. Tell me a little bit about Maestro and how you applied it here, because that really impressed me. I've never been on a Maestro bike.
Yeah.
Wow, really.
Well, thank you very much. You know, Maestro's been around for about 5 years now. 2011 is coming into our 6th year of development for Maestro, and while a couple things that are interesting about it is that every one of our full suspension bikes, from Anthem X platform all the way up to our downhill bike Glory, use the same Maestro suspension. Now, obviously there's different travel lengths involved, but the principles are the same. And let me explain exactly how Maestro works really simply to you so that you can better understand how it works, and if I can show you. So Maestro is a dual link bike, and you see the lower link here, and you have the upper rocker arm here. And so what happens is the lower link and the upper link work together and offer a wheel path that creates a floating pivot point. The floating pivot point occurs right about here. It's right about between the large and the middle chainring. What's neat about our floating pivot point is it's about the size of call it a small half dollar. As long as the chain is in that $half size, it's very neutral pedaling feedback. I don't know what range of gears you used on your test ride, but I'm guessing from the trails are pretty steep. You probably went granny all the way up to Big Ring here. I don't know how much pedaling feedback, if any, you felt, but I'm pretty impressed with Maestro myself in the sense that you don't get that pedaling feedback. And that's what's really neat, is you can run it perfectly for your weight so that the suspension remains active, but remains independent of your pedaling force. And that's what I feel is really the key to Maestro. It's active when you want it, but it won't bob under your body weight or won't bob under pedaling force.
Well, you've heard it from the man here. I'll tell you what, I was impressed. I think a lot of people are going to be running to buy this bike when it's available in the shops. We're slated to get one for a long-term test, hopefully later on this year. Stay tuned for that. We'll see if we can make that happen for you guys. But in the meantime, go to your Giant dealer, get on a ride one of these if you can, because I think it's going to be something that is going to be a real competitor in the 4-inch travel full suspension market for 29ers next year. All right, Granny Gear out.